The Haunting of Black Hollow Gas Station. As I reflect on one of the eeriest experiences of my life, I can't help but shiver at the memory of the Black Hollow gas station. This is a true story, a chilling encounter that still haunts my dreams. I was driving alone on a desolate highway in the dead of night, searching for the next gas station to refuel and escape the suffocating darkness that surrounded me. The road stretched endlessly, and there were no signs of civilization for miles. My fuel gauge was inching perilously close to empty, and a sense of unease was steadily creeping in. Just when I thought I might be stranded, the flickering neon sign of the Black Hollow gas station emerged like a beacon of hope. Pulling into the parking lot, I couldn't help but notice the eerie stillness that enveloped the place. The gas station itself was old, with a weathered exterior and a dimly lit interior. I couldn't see anyone inside, but a faint hum of fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The only sound in the desolate night was the wind howling through the rustling trees. I nervously stepped out of my car and approached the fuel pumps. The nozzle was surprisingly heavy, and I struggled to insert it into my gas tank. As I pumped gas into my car, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The sense of unease grew with every passing second. I took a moment to scan my surroundings and realized that there was a rundown convenience store attached to the gas station. Its windows were fogged up, making it impossible to see inside. My curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to check it out. Pushing open the creaking door, I was met with an unsettling scene. The store was filled with shelves stacked haphazardly with dusty, old products. The aisle seemed to stretch on forever, but there was no sign of any employees or other customers. The silence was oppressive, the air thick with an inexplicable dread. As I walked deeper into the store, the fluorescent lights above me flickered erratically, casting eerie shadows across the dimly lit aisles. I felt as though something was lurking just out of my sight, something sinister and malevolent. My heart pounded in my chest, and I was overcome by an overwhelming urge to leave. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence, sending a shiver down my spine. It was a child's voice, whispering my name. "Mark, Mark." I spun around, but there was no one there. The voice continued, getting closer and closer, echoing through the empty store. Panicked and disoriented, I rushed back to the entrance. As I reached the door, it slammed shut with a deafening crash, trapping me inside. The lights overhead shattered, plunging the store into complete darkness. I was surrounded by the whispering voices, an eerie choir of whispers that seemed to come from all directions. In that pitch-black darkness, I fumbled for my phone, praying for some source of light. When I finally managed to turn on the flashlight, the convenience store was empty once more, and the door stood ajar. Trembling with fear, I bolted out of the gas station, never looking back. I've never been able to forget the Black Hollow gas station, a place where reality seemed to blur with the paranormal. The cashier who watched me. I had just finished a long road trip and was driving home late at night. I was tired and needed to stop for gas. I pulled into the only gas station I could see for miles. It was a small, dingy-looking place with a single convenience store attached. I parked my car and went inside. The store was empty except for the cashier, a thin, pale man with long, greasy hair. He looked up at me with a blank expression on his face. "Can I help you?" he asked in a monotone voice. "Just a tank of gas," I replied. He nodded and turned to the computer to start the transaction. I waited awkwardly, feeling uneasy under his gaze. "Are you traveling alone?" he asked suddenly. I started to feel more uncomfortable. "Yes," I said. "That's not very safe," he said. "You should be careful at night, especially when you're all alone." I nodded and didn't say anything. I just wanted to get my gas and leave. He finished the transaction and handed me my receipt. "Thank you," he said, "and be safe." I took the receipt and turned to leave, but then I stopped. There was something about him that made me feel uneasy. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching me. I turned around and looked at him. He was still staring at me, his expression unreadable. "What?" I asked. He didn't say anything. He just continued to stare. I felt a chill run down my spine. I quickly turned and walked out of the store. I got in my car and locked the doors. I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw that the cashier was still watching me. He had a smile on his face, but it wasn't a kind smile. It was a cold, cruel smile. I quickly started the car and drove away. I didn't look back. I don't know what was wrong with that man, but I'm glad I got out of there when I did. I still have nightmares about him sometimes. If you ever find yourself at a gas station like that, my advice is to keep driving. The enigmatic stranger at the deserted gas station. I've got a bone-chilling tale that still sends shivers down my spine whenever I think about it. This happened a few years ago when I was on a long road trip through the vast, desolate stretches of the American Southwest. The sun was dipping below the horizon, casting an otherworldly glow on the arid desert landscape. As my car's fuel gauge approached empty, I began to worry about finding a gas station in the middle of nowhere. Just when it seemed like I might be stranded in the unforgiving desert, a flickering neon sign appeared on the horizon, promising salvation. It was the Red Rock gas station, standing alone like an oasis in the barren sands. I pulled into the gravel lot, relieved to see that the place was open for business. The building had clearly seen better days, with its faded paint and rusting pumps, but it was a sight for sore eyes. The gas station was eerily quiet, and there were no other customers in sight. A rusty bell above the door jingled as I stepped inside, and the pungent smell of stale gasoline hit me. Behind the counter stood an old man, his eyes hidden behind thick glasses, and he stared at me with a penetrating, knowing gaze. His leathery skin and crooked smile made him look like a character from an old horror movie. I tried to make polite conversation, asking about the area and the nearest town, but his responses were cryptic and unsettling. He spoke of a town that had been abandoned for years, a place forgotten by time, and urged me to leave before nightfall. His words sent a chill down my spine, but I dismissed it as the ramblings of an eccentric old man. As I paid for my gas and snacks, I noticed a stack of dusty postcards on the counter. Each one featured a picture of the gas station itself, dated from decades past. What struck me as odd was there were no modern postcards, no evidence that the place had been open in recent years. With a sense of foreboding, I grabbed my things and left the gas station as the last rays of daylight disappeared. The old man's words echoed in my mind as I pulled away, urging me to make haste and not to look back. Just a few miles down the road, I noticed something strange in my rearview mirror. The Red Rock gas station was now engulfed in flames, a towering inferno lighting up the night sky. My heart raced. I dialed 911 to report the fire. The operator on the other end sounded puzzled, telling me that there had been no reports of a fire in that location in years. To this day, I cannot explain what happened at the Red Rock gas station.